Senator Murkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you and the ranking member have been to Alaska. You know we have people that live there. You've seen it. You've witnessed it. It's not just me and my family. But yet, I get this very distinct impression that those within the Biden administration think that we're just a snow globe up there and we look pretty on the shelf. And this 5-year plan, I have to tell you, is just yet one more case in point. It makes perfectly clear to me that the Department of Interior, the Biden administration, have no concern for energy security. The ranking member pointed out you'd rather go to Iran, to Venezuela. But you also don't care about the energy affordability for the people who are most energy vulnerable. Some of the most energy vulnerable people in the United States of America happen to be living in Alaska, and they're Alaska natives. Again, people that the administration professes to care about. It's almost like the people there are just a burden. Well, they're not a burden to me, but you have a 5-year plan here where you have determined that there are no lease sales offered in Alaska due to, quote, the relatively small population. Okay, that's a true statement. We only have 720,000 people. And the lack of industrialization. Even though you acknowledge that holding no lease sales is going to result in higher energy prices, resulting in the highest economic burden for those who can least afford it, higher emissions for any alternative sources of energy. So we're trying to do the right thing and find other alternatives here. But the fact of the matter is we're going to be looking to dirtier sources to replace it so that we can keep the lights on and keep homes warm in a cold place. And our other alternative right now is turning to Canada for importing LNG to keep the lights on in South Central, where most of the population, where half of the population is. I'm having to sit down with my utility managers across the state as they're telling me, Lisa, you better get used to it because we got to be making some contracts with Canada for LNG over my dead body. We have the resources there. We've demonstrated. We had the longest term export contract with Japan for our LNG for decades. We've got the resource here. Are you aware that we have this shortage in Cook Inlet right now that's going to impact Alaska residents?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. I had the opportunity to travel to Alaska over the summer, twice actually, once for vacation, once for work, but and did a number of productive meetings with the state, including. So
do you know though,
yes,
that this is what we're looking at right now?
Yes,
that with no exploration opportunities, we're looking to Canada. Do you know that the decision here, the selection of no lease sales in Cook Inlet is going to impact our energy prices in Alaska? Do you understand that?
I understand there is a shortage of natural gas in Cook Inlet. We also have 15 leases, I think, as you know, in the Cook Inlet currently waiting for a proposed production plan for those leases. I met with the leaseholder while I was in Alaska, and BOEM stands ready to review and any proposal that's put in front of us for those leases.
So let me tell you part of the problem with those leases, and this relates to lease sale 258. You are aware, I'm assuming, of the decision memo from your boss. This is Amanda Lefton to Laura Daniel Davis. This was back in November 25 of 2022 regarding the decision for the size, the timing, location, and the economic conditions for that lease sale. I'm sure you're familiar with that, okay. Well, for those who might not know, it's a memo that the director of BOEM recommended a higher royalty rate of 18.75% for lease sale 258, specifically adding a surcharge of 2.25 percentage points to, quote, account for the social cost of upstream greenhouse gas emissions from production. So your memo goes on to say, well, a 16 2/3% royalty may be more likely to facilitate expeditious and orderly development of OCS resources and potentially offer greater energy security to the residents of the state of Alaska, a reasonable balancing of the environmental and the economic factors for the American public favors the maximum 18.75% royalty for Cook Inlet leases. So you've got a situation here where you are purposefully seeking to increase the costs to Alaskan residents because you want to favor the American public in some other part of the country. I don't know where or how. But you've got a lower royalty rate would have increased energy security. It would have worked to address our cost challenges. But this is not compatible with BOEM's paper. I mean, we look at this and say, we view that you think of us as nothing more than a burden here. So when you're wondering why you can't get interest in your lease sales, maybe you need to be looking to some of the self-imposed barriers that the administration is placing on us. But we are not going to be in a place where, as a state that has resources, as a state that has demonstrated a responsible use and stewardship of our resources, not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of other Americans and to our friends and allies. We need to work with you. But what has happened, and this example is just case in point of an administration that has determined that Alaska is just to be something pretty to look at. And the fact that people like you can go up there and have a nice vacation is great, but we need jobs that are better than just packing your bags when you get there. I'm sorry that I'm a little irritated, but this is stunning to me. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.